Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel. I've named this video Why Tolkien is Worth Fighting For, and if you want to get directly to that content, I'll put the number time stamp up here at some point because I do have a little bit of a preamble. I did a video a few days ago, and it was my first video really ever addressing the Rings of Power stuff that was going on, and in it I said, which I still believe now, that it's getting to the point where it's almost people are they're paying it too much attention. I do believe in calling out the garbage, and I think that needs to continue to be called out. When I say ignore them, I don't mean don't even remotely mention them, whatever. It needs to be called out and firmly, proclaim that that's garbage. That's not Tolkien. That's not the way that should be or anything like that. But when it gets to the point where every little new tiny thing that someone says every day is echo chambered throughout, it's not quite the term, but it's echoed through YouTube, and all of these like-minded channels, that's drumming up more and more publicity for the show. And I talk about, hate watching. Amazon doesn't care. They want you to watch. And even in that, you'd be surprised some of the comments I got. People are like, I'm going to watch it. I can't wait to watch that train wreck. That's what they want. You are Amazon's best friend, say hi to your best buddy Jeff Bezos for me, because that's what they want. They know they're not going to get people supporting this show en masse is a great, wonderful show, but they're wanting people, the curiosity watchers, the hate watchers. That's why they love when YouTube, the big, huge movement of people reporting and revving up people, isn't this horrible, and this is how much they hate you, and all true and deserves to be called out to a point, but it's getting to the point where it's too much, Then I made that video and I saw, oh my gosh, like so many more views in that video than my normal stuff. Back into the we're talking back into the numbers of like Masters of the Universe numbers that my videos would hit when that was the big thing. And this is why a lot of those YouTubers constantly keep making these videos day after day with the current hashtag, and stuff. So you know why they do it. They do it for money's sake. Now, I thought about this. I was like, okay, well, how do I, I'm a Tolkien fan, a big Tolkien fan. I did a whole book study of both The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy over on my Catholic Bible Geek channel. How do I fight for the true Tolkien that should be continued to promote? I don't want us to lose sight of what's so great about Tolkien in our fight against this Rings of Power nonsense. So I thought, that's what I'm going to do. I want to do a video, and I want to encourage you to either just list it in the comment section, or, if you have a channel, make your own videos. If you want to talk about Tolkien, talk about what makes him so great. Let's make sure that is still in our minds, while Rings of Power is going to consistently get everything wrong. And you want to call out some of the stuff they're doing wrong, fine, but let's just make sure that we are still pushing what the real, true blue, wonderful mythos and gift that Tolkien gave us with his mythology, with his Middle-earth mythology. Let's not lose sight of that. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about that, because that's important. I talk a lot about mythologies on my channel, and Superman, for example, is my guy. I mean, he's just my true blue hero. And we've come to the point as a culture now where your average person on the street does not recognize the iconic true blue Superman. They don't. He's been so systematically deconstructed, and despite my and other people who share my views on Superman, despite our fight against all this nonsense like Zack Snyder's Man of Steel garbage, all the time I get people saying, well, that movie's actually pretty. No, it's not. If you know who the true blue iconic Superman is, it is just a straight up character assassination, top to bottom, in every fiber of that film. But people, we've been so long without a real portrayal, an iconic portrayal of Superman, and people think, oh well, the Superman and Lois series, that gets it. No, it doesn't. Oh my goodness, we've been so long without a real iconic portrayal of Superman in popular culture, current popular culture, that are your average person on the street just doesn't know the character anymore. So I've learned in my fight against the Superman deconstruction how to fight this battle, how to fight the good fight, and part of it is to continue to call out the garbage, but part of it too is to continue to push what's so great about Tolkien. So again, this is the part where I'm going to talk about what's great about Tolkien, but I am even now going to give you just a little bit of a backstory about how I got into the character, which I think you guys should do too, because I think that's relevant. You know, people's personal experiences with the author and with the material is good, and that's part of what makes the work resonate in our culture. So if you want to skip this part, I'll even put up another timestamp where I just talk about Tolkien in more general terms. I never read Tolkien growing up. I read C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis was my guy. And every time I would try to talk about C.S. Lewis, early in the Chronicles of Narnia, whatever person I was talking to would immediately say, "Did you ever read Tolkien, though?" Shut up. I'm talking about Lewis. I hate that. Hate that. So as a result, I was like, I'm darned if I'm ever going to read Tolkien. Shut up. I like what I like. It's why I can't stand talking about anime to certain people. Because like, oh, I like this show here. But you need to watch this, and this, and this, and you really need to read the manga too, and blah, blah. Whoa. So, that's just the thing with me. But I was about, I don't remember exactly how old I was, 18-ish, something like that, when the buzz for the movies was coming out. It was a couple years before Fellowship of the Ring came out, and we knew that they were making the movies. I started to see some of the trailer stuff, and I thought, actually looks pretty cool. And I'd seen like the Rankin and Bass Hobbit, at some point. So I thought, I need to read these books. About that time, though, there was an older lady that lived up the road from us. She was a widow of an ambassador, U.S. ambassador, actually, quite old, in her 80s. And she had this nice house and everything. My mother came in for a couple of hours each day to help her clean it and stuff. And she had eye surgery. She was an avid reader, but had eye surgery where she couldn't read. And my mother suggested that I go read to her, since I love to read. And I wasn't even in college at this point. I was like, I'm not going to college. So I would go up there and read to her, and we were reading Tolkien. And she loved Tolkien. She was just a real connoisseur of literature. And through that experience, through reading Tolkien the Hobbit, and then all of the Lord of the Rings books, and then some Silmarillion stuff as well, my own experience reading it, first off, but also reading it to her, with her, hearing her expertise on it and her experience with it as well, just really opened up my eyes to it. And part of that experience is why, with her encouragement, why I ended up going back to school anyway, and eventually became a professor myself. So it's, Tolkien's pretty important to me, and it's so timeless. That's the thing. It's timeless because, now, he was writing that before Joseph Campbell really pinned down the hero's journey in terms of Heroes with a Thousand Faces and such, but he really did follow that timeless hero's journey because he was an expert on mythology, Norse mythology and so forth, and he knew all of that, and he was writing, something to go along those lines. So whether you're following Bilbo, or Frodo, or Aragorn, or whoever you're following in any different part of the saga, you have that hero's journey that's so present. That's let's take a character who is good, right? This is the first thing. The first thing, maybe I should say, even before we get into hero's journey, the first thing that's great about Tolkien is that there is no question what right or wrong is. There's good and there's evil. Yes, that is what... This happened on a Sound Engraver stream the other day. Somebody came in and was trying to say, oh, things are complicated, and, there's morally gray areas, and I loved her answer. She was like, no! This is Tolkien, this is fairy tale, this is mythology, there's right and there's wrong. And in today's culture of, well, it's morally relative, I mean, who are you to say that this is wrong for somebody else? Ridiculous. I mentioned in my last video that, it will hurt your soul to watch this new garbage that they're trying to pass off as Middle Earth. And somebody's like, well, I don't believe in a soul anyway, so I guess I'll watch it. I'm like, makes sense. Makes perfect sense. I'm not saying that you have to be a Catholic like Tolkien, or even a Christian at all. I guess you wouldn't even really have to believe in any kind of personal greater deity, but you have to believe in absolute right and wrong, absolute truth. If you can't get your mind around absolute truth, then mythology isn't for you anyway. You're more likely just to be one of these people out here who's like, I just enjoy stuff, like what I like what I don't like. And you're the junk food eater of mythology, Tolkien understood there's right and there's wrong. There's good in this world, there's evil in this world. And it wasn't up to the individual characters, or us in our lives, to exact justice. Gandalf has that wonderful speech to Frodo, some deserve death and yet live, and yet some died and deserved life. Do you have the power to give it to them? So it's not, it's the divinity's job to deal that out. You are a player in this world. You've been stuck in the time that you're stuck in. You're living through horrible stuff that you wish didn't happen to you. that you wish maybe you'd been alive in another time, but for some reason you're placed here. You have a part to play. Even if you're the most insignificant little race of hobbits up here who have no knowledge of adventure in any way, you're so ill-equipped for anything like that, you have a vital role to play in the fate of the world, of the universe, of the world around you, of your friends and family and people around you. You know, this is what Tolkien's universe teaches us. There's absolute right and wrong. Magic in the Tolkien universe, this is the second thing, is present on both good and bad sides, on the good side of good and evil in Tolkien's universe, but on the good side, magic is only ever used for the benefit of others. Think about Gandalf. All of his magic is used for the benefit of others. And no one, at least on the good side, is so magical that they are just, OP'd, or whatever. His magic is used for others. As soon as you start trying to grasp magic for yourself, for your own benefit, that's when when you become evil. That's the ring itself, grasping it for me and mine. Now let me circle back around and get to this hero's journey thing. We see this primarily in The Hobbit with Bilbo, but certainly it's in The Lord of the Rings as well. A hero's journey is about getting you out of your comfort zone, pushing your limits, testing yourself, growing and stretching, but not losing who you were either, as a core, but certainly growing and stretching and learning who you were meant to become. That's built into the Tolkien's mythos with the ring itself, because the ring itself, a lot of scholars have pointed out that there's an aspect of the industrialization to the ring. The orcs were the ones that they're clever with machinery and stuff like that, but nothing's natural. They're the ones burning down trees and building forges and stuff like that, whereas even the dwarves would work more naturally with the ground and so forth. So that we want to make things easier for us, more power for me, to make my life easier, to make my life happier, no thoughts to anybody else. That is the world we live in today. Even these virtue signalers, these progressive ideologists, they might claim to be worrying about all the disenfranchised groups and whatnot. They're more worried about themselves and how they appear in this world. Are they looking, woke enough? Are they virtue signaling enough? Do people know that they're for this and not for that? It's more self-serving than it is. Good for you and your hashtag, but what did you actually do for anybody in need? Philosophy's not going to help them. Actually, hitting the streets and giving or helping or whatever is going to help. So there's that aspect, and there's a reason why people just don't like it. You have to grow and change. The person that you are, the person that you just are at the beginning of a story, is not good enough. It's not good enough. You've got potential. You are the right person for this journey. You're chosen for this journey. But you don't just get to remain who you are. And this is why I haven't seen the series. I'm not going to see the series Rings of Power, but I guarantee you Galadriel's character, or any other female or minority character, their journey will be all about them realizing that they were already amazing. They already had all the power. Galadriel realized that she had been held down by the patriarchy of the elves, and she already had the power, and if only she could break free of the men telling her what to do in her life. This is garbage storytelling. This is what we've seen. This is Rey Skywalker. This is Rey. This is the Captain Marvel, film. This is the feminist journey. It's not even a real heroine's journey. There is such a thing as a heroine's journey. It's the feminist journey, which is this feminist character does not need to grow, does not need to learn anything. If she learns anything, it's how she's being oppressed and how the men in her life, or the patriarchy, or the masculine forces in her life have been holding her down. And she's amazing, darn it, and she just needs to shine like she might have been a little too scared to shine before because she's already wonderful. That's not a story. That's not a story. That's a propaganda piece. A story, a proper mythology, a proper hero's journey is a character of whatever gender or race or whatever, learning that they need to grow. They need to go push their limits. They need to adapt. They need to abandon certain ways of seeing the world, adapting others, not losing faith in themselves. It is important to have faith in yourself that you've been born in this time, for this time period, and you've been given this position. Poor little Bilbo. Gandalf chose him. He is to be the burglar. What does he know about burgling? As Thorin says, he's more more grosser than burglar, you know. But if this was a feminist journey piece, Bilbo would have been proving to the elves that he's already amazing and that everything he does is already wonderful. No, he had to learn. He did have a goodness of heart in him that remained true and remained throughout and kept him through. And sure, that's very true. That's why he was able to resist the ring's power, even for carrying it so long. But you do have to grow. You do have to change, and that's what we so vitally need as human beings. If all we're told is stories about how amazing we already are, and everything the bad that happened to us is somebody else's fault, we're oppressed for some reason, if that's all you're told, then you stagnate. And we see that around. Look, I teach the younger generations year in and year out, and I see this happening. I'm not saying with every young person ever. There's plenty of young people listening to my channel who know this nonsense and call it out. But we're seeing that, you know. People don't feel that they need to change. They don't feel that they need to be others-centered. Not just hashtag others-centered, but actually others-centered. And really live their lives in a way of service to others. They don't get that. And that's what these stories tell us. They tell us that if you really want to find your ultimate meaning, what you truly were created for, placed in this world for, placed in this time period for, placed in this specific adventure for, if you really want to know that, if you really want to know ultimately what will be your ultimate happiness or ultimate joy, then you have to stop navel gazing, have to stop putting up, you know, walls around you and just focusing on how amazing you are and, oh, people are trying to get me not to believe in myself, but I have to believe in myself. Stop that. Focus out. That's what these stories teach us. This is what Tolkien tells us, whether we're dealing with Bilbo, Frodo, Beren, Legolas, anybody. You know, that's what these stories do. They teach us to be open to different ways, you know, to different races. Yeah, sure. But when we're talking about elves and dwarves, you know, there's no such thing as races in Middle-earth as we know races, because this is a fantasy. It's a different world. My last video was about that. So anyway, this is what immediately becomes apparent to me when I think about why Tolkien matters. I am going to probably do another video on why Tolkien matters to the fantasy genre in particular, because I did talk about last time, you know, how he's pretty much one of the fathers, and people are like, George MacDonald is a father. Yeah, but Tolkien, I think we can certainly say, when we think about the high fantasy subgenre of fiction today, daughter telling me to wrap this up. We look at Tolkien. So I'll do a video about that as well. I'll come back with another anime video at some point this weekend. But thanks for watching. I got a lot more to say on this, on what makes Tolkien great. So that'll continue to occur to me now and then when it does, and we'll make more videos on it. But I'd love to hear your thoughts in the chat below, and on your own videos, and your own blogs or whatever. What makes Tolkien great? How do you know what Tolkien is so what's so great about it? Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the true hero stories you love.